I love talking about people. I love talking about relationships. Those are things I value highly. So if I connect with somebody and they start talking about those things, then we immediately jive. It's the conversation comes easily.
Sometimes don't be over perfect, because when you are over perfect, people know that this is not real. Because the people you are trying to reach are human beings, and they know what human beings are. If it is over perfect, they are not like that. So they don't want to be like you because you are not like them.
People forget what follow-up is. Follow-up is simply staying in touch with, continuing to have interactions with your audience to understand what is it they need from you. I'm a mom of 5 kids, which may or may not pop in today because they're actually home from school, because we are having a snow day today. Now I'm used to juggling all the plates, running a business and having the kids. And a lot of those skills have translated very well into running a business. And also understanding like the nuances of how to run a business and meet people and all those kind of things. So
that's interesting. In fact, my first question just now, we go about that. But anyway, let's first start to understand where you're coming from. Because here in Obehi Podcast, we sort of pride ourselves in try to learn where we are coming from. That is important for us. So, Bethany, tell me, what do you remember about you growing up in Ohio? Is that where you grew up?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me about you as an infant. What do you remember?
As an infant? I don't know if I remember quite that far back, but as a young child, I loved being outdoors. I remember running around outside with my friends, scraping my toes, riding my bike, climbing trees. I was very much I wasn't an inside play with toys so much. I was let me go outside and run around, which I feel kind of sad my kids don't do as much of. It's the world's changed a bit.
All right, that's great. So when you see your kids growing up now, you sort of it give you a reminiscence of how it was in the days, no? Because things change. You're right.
Yeah.
All right. So how did you get into business? And of course, now you are in sales. We are talking about sales today, but how do you get into business? Then you move into sales.
I actually like to tell people that I've been an entrepreneur since I was, this high. I probably started out selling cookies for the Girl Scouts, and the advantage of selling, like as a kid, they were like, here, go sell these cookies. And for me, I actually had an incentive because I wanted to go to Girl Scout camp and learn how to ride horses. And my family didn't necessarily have the money for it, but if I sold enough cookies, I could go to camp. And so I did. So I just learned very early on the persistence of selling stuff, knocking on lots of doors, asking lots of people. Of course, cookies are easy to sell, but I've always been an entrepreneur. Then as I became an adult, I was like, I can do things like this to make money when I need money. Though as an adult, it was a little trickier to sell things because I wasn't selling cookies anymore. But that kind of gave me the entrepreneur bug.
That's interesting. And now we have a visitor there. Who is visiting us today?
Yeah, Raven. See if you can let me show you. She's
hello.
This is Raven. She's like, okay, I'm done.
You want to see what is going on there? That is selling, Everybody's going to be put your face in it, no?
I was just walking by, everyone ignored me. No, you had to pick me up.
Absolutely. Because if it didn't come, you're not going to know it's there, no? So what do you like about sales, Bethany?
Well, I'll tell you this real quick. What's really funny is I mentioned I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. I've sold lots and lots of things over the years. And for a very long time, I thought that I hated sales. And that was because I was told a lot of different techniques that felt kind of underhanded, trying to use certain scripts to get people to say certain things in order that you can kind of guide the conversation. And that just felt ingenuine Um, and many, many years ago, I was working for a digital marketing company selling, SEO services and helping businesses get found online. And I knew that these local businesses needed this service. I knew these small local businesses were not getting found and not getting the business they needed. But when I came into their store as a salesperson, they wanted nothing to do with me. And I think that's when I realized I get to figure out how to sell because these people need what I have. And whether they get it from me or somebody else, they need it from somebody. And I think that's really where I recognized I get to figure out how to sell in a way that I love. And the thing about selling that I love now is it's not about manipulating the conversation to get someone to agree with you. It's about showing them that you're trustworthy enough that they're willing to learn how you can help them. That's what selling really is.
All right. We're going to go into that a lot of time today. That is really valuable, Bethany. That's really valuable. All right. There's something I also like. Okay, you might even hear my son coughing in the background because I think this is the best time to be alive in that you can be in business, but your families are around you because now we can do most of the things online. That is the best thing. That is the best thing that we can do. My son, who is 6 years old, know what his daddy is doing. I don't need to tell him this is what I do. A number of times my son has told me about storytelling. Then I ask you, where did you learn about storytelling? He said, Daddy, that is what we talk about. So what does that mean? That if we want to pass information to our kids now, we don't need to struggle very much because children, they don't only learn what you tell them, they learn what they see you do. Mm-hmm. All right. You are a mom. How do you juggle running a business and running a family at the same time? Tell me more about that.
Well, I will admit it's a little easier now than it was when they were littler. Mine are mostly teenagers. But, it's what I love about being an entrepreneur is actually the availability I have. If something comes up with one of my kids, I can rearrange my schedule. This actually happened yesterday. I was coming home from a networking event and one of my kids texted me from school and said, "Mom, I don't feel good today. Would you come pick me up?" And I was like, "Well, I'm on my way home now. I'll be there shortly." So I can plug that in. And once in a while, I drag them with me on things, and they get to, like you, they get to see what I do. They get to see me at events. I pull them into it, and I have them help me set up tables, all kinds of stuff.
I think that is lovely. Sometimes we try to force idea into people, particularly like our kids, but even in business environment, no. This is the rules. This is what you have to read. This is what you have to do. This is what you have to do. But I think we learn better if we can see somebody doing what they are talking about. Then it becomes easier for us. Then it becomes easier to even impart the people. I think even in sales, that is going to translate well. I don't need to read it just in the book. Let me see somebody doing it. Then I can sort of role model along the line. I think it is important that this is a good time. It's a good time to be alive. I want to say that again. Of course, this is happening because we have technology that is helping us to be able to do a lot of things. You are there in Ohio. I am in Verona, which is in the northern part of Italy. It looks like we are just next neighbor, no? We are in the same room, just having coffee, no?
Right?
This amazing. This is thanks to technology. So this is a good thing. We can do business together. I just finished to do an interview because today I have 2 interviews to do. Just finished to interview a lady. She's in Italy. Even though she's in Italy, Italy is a big country. Okay, it's a big country, yeah. But of course, it's not in Verona where I live. We spend a lot of time talking and we enjoy the time together, no? This is thanks to technology. And even though you are in the US, it looks like it's the same thing. Nothing changed,
Yep. I have friends on the other parts of the country that I have yet to meet in person. And I hope to someday. But even though we're in the same country, we haven't met yet. Right?
But even though if we never meet face to face, now we can see each other. Now we can feel each other's space. Now we are enjoying it. All right, Bethany, I have a question for you. Uh-huh. How do you increase sales?
There's a couple different things that play into that. I like to tell people, especially small businesses, uh, when you're feeling kind of the pinch of the sales not being where you want it to be, a lot of time business owners will get scared and they'll start grasping. They'll start trying to find more leads, find more people to talk to about their business. Sometimes they'll be like, "Well, I need to talk to a new audience, or I need to try a new thing. I need to get on social media." And a lot of times, if they're doing something new, it's actually diverting them from what is working. So when I talk to a business owner who says, "Bethany, I need to get my sales moving immediately," I will say, "Who is the one audience that resonates with what you do?" And get really good at talking to them and go only where they are. Don't worry about everybody else. Stay and focus on them and get really good with them. That will move the needle faster than anything else. Ask me that question again, so I understand the.
No, I mean, how do you really remain focused in business? What are some of the strategy to make sure that you really remain in focus instead of moving around with a lot of things? Because in business there are a lot of moving parts. It's like a machine. Everything you can't just say, "I set up the color, then it is done." The color is important, but that is not all. What about the email? What if you send the best email in the world? That still didn't do it. What about the product? What if all you have is a product? But how will people know that you have the product? So everything is related to everything in business.
Yeah.
And of course, you also have the distraction. You have the family. You have the friends. Then how do you remain focused? That is where I'm more interested there. Are there tips? Are there strategy?
So I actually read a really great book recently that kind of nailed this point really well. And it was called Essentialism. And basically the concept is understand what is most important. And if you're talking about sales, what is most important is your customers. Understand them really well. Like I said, know where they are, know what they need from you, understand the language that they speak, and be good at it. And stay focused. And you said, well, how do you do that? Look for the most impactful actions, but not so much that you're like, okay, you'll buy my product, so I'm going to like hound you until you buy it. But just know that person, there are other people who will buy it who are like that person. So just keep talking to them and getting better and better at that thing. Not trying to do something more. Be good at the one thing. And then when you get really good at the one thing, then you can expand and go from there. But don't expand until you've figured out how to be good at selling to one particular person, one particular group of people. I hope that makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense. Absolutely, it makes a lot of sense to me. But another thing that also makes sense to me, this one. I love it. Sales are the lifeblood of your business. Tell me more about that. What do you mean by that? Because I'm clipping that from your website.
Well, absolutely. I like to say that if you don't have sales, you really don't have a business. But if you don't have connections to people, there aren't people in and around your business, then you don't have sales and you don't have a business. So there's a phrase, something along the lines of, if your business isn't profitable, it's just a hobby or something of that sort. And a lot of times when we first start off in business, we're kind of testing out, is this viable? Will people buy this thing that I'm selling? Do people actually want what I'm selling? But once we start getting a couple sales and people are like, I love this is amazing, and they tell more people about it, then we start to get it proves to us this is real. This is sustainable. I can do this. And so like sales validate what we're doing. And when businesses come to me, that's the thing too. Like if you're not getting sales, business owners will be like, I'm failing. I suck at this. And I usually just need to tell them, you don't suck at this. You probably didn't get into your business because you like to sell things. You got into business because you love doing the thing that you're great at. And that's what the people want from you. And so we need to help them understand, the people who don't know you yet, right? Or the people who just got to meet you. How is it what you do or sell or offer the thing that they want? And it's usually less about the thing and more about you.
That sort of made me think about what we actually do here every day, which is storytelling. And I'm wondering, is there a way that maybe storytelling can be relevant to how you increase sales in your business? Help me with that.
100%. 100%. If all you do every day, all day, is talk about facts and figures and the benefits and features of your product or service, you'll probably sell a few of them. But you might find that it doesn't feel like you don't really feel a resonance with it. It doesn't really drive a passion in you, and your customers may not stick around for very long. When you tell stories, we've been communicating through stories for thousands and thousands of years. And that's how we relate to one another. It's how we understand things. And I will tell you a story to help you understand this as well. I was talking with a business owner just recently, and she owns a local music studio. When she started out in business, she did it out of her own home, and she was teaching students out of her own home. And so she really got to build a relationship with the parents and with the students, and they knew her as this wonderful teacher. And as her business grew, she bought a location, she hired teachers, and she started being able to serve more people. But now she's finding that her students come and go quicker. They don't stick around for a long time. They'll come and do a couple months of classes, and then they'll move on to, a sport or another activity. And we were having a conversation about this. Why aren't they staying around like they did when she was doing it from her home? And I said, because they no longer see you as the individual that they knew, that they had an emotional bond with. Now they see you as a business, as a transaction. You need to reconnect with them as the humans that they are. And I gave her some suggestions of ways that she could, bond with those parents when they come in, whether it be her or her teachers or her staff, but connecting with them as people and asking, why does music matter to you and your family? What are you hoping to gain from this? How can we be a piece of that? Not just, hi, it's nice to see you today. Let's get started with your guitar practice. And that's where stories help us be humans. And that's really what matters most, I think.
Yeah, in business. But you see, even if you look at the bigger elephant in the rooms, like the Apples of the world, the Microsoft, like the Nike, you see, they still put human face in the brand. Mm-hmm. Because this we will understand now in storytelling that people want to relate to other people. If I just blow up a lot of statistics out there, the question you are going to be asking, which is natural, is now, okay, how do I find myself there now? But if you talk about a man who have lost his job, or a woman who is struggling to start up a business, or who struggled to set up a business and is now flourishing, mm-hmm. there have been a woman in your life, either a mother, a father, a sister, because you didn't jump into this world from the sky. So you must relate. Yeah. But if I'm telling you just statistics does not have root. They don't have something to hold to.
Yes.
So I like that we need to put the human face there, and story help us to do that.
Absolutely.
Now, what about leveraging our personal story so that we can better bond with the audience? Because I think you use the word there, how to bond with the audience. What if we could leverage our personal story? Is there a way that we could do that better in our business so that our business, again, can have a face that people can relate to?
Well, I love the phrase origin story. Sometimes you see that in like superheroes or whatever, but we all have an origin story. Why we do what we do, what got us into it, And it was kind of like my story of, selling Girl Scout cookies as a kid. I recognized very early on that if I was persistent and I went door to door, I would find people who would buy my cookies. And it was just, in that case, it truly was a numbers game. I'm not a big fan of that phrase in sales, but there's a way in which it's true. You talk to enough people who would buy your thing, and they'll buy your thing. But I learned that people love Girl Scout cookies, and I could make them happy, and I got to go to Girl Scout camp. And those kind of stories, I'm sure there'll be other people listening to this who are like, I sold Girl Scout cookies too. Or maybe I got to go to camp because of it. Those things that like you said, we can see ourselves in those stories. We can see people we know in those stories. They're so important. And it creates just that emotional bond is a critical piece of business that sometimes we just forget because we get so lost in the transactions and the facts and the figures.
Thank you for that. All right. Now, so today, of course, we're talking about how to increase your sales or how to increase sales in your business. And now we are not just talking about people. We are talking about our people, our audience. Then we're also talking about us, our experiences, because what we're actually selling to the people is what we have tried that have worked that we want people to replicate. So in line with that, and in line with storytelling, which we've just talked about a short while ago, what would you say maybe are your 3 best strategies to increase sales in your business? I'm asking that because people that are listening to you want to see what they can learn, what they can steal from you to apply in their own business. So share with us 3 strategies that have worked for you.
3 strategies that have worked for me. Well, I will say, let's see, can I do it backwards? People 3, 2, 1. But I'm let's see here. I'll just do it in the order they come in my brain. So, which is, I think, one of the things that people forget most about in sales, which relates to the name of my business, is follow-up. My business, I named it the Follow-Up Boss, not for a reason. People forget what follow-up is. Follow-up is simply staying in touch with, continuing to have interactions with your audience to understand what is it they need from you. And there are different types of follow-up for different stages of the sales process. And that is a rabbit hole for another day. But follow-up is so critical. If you don't follow up, you're not getting most of the sales that you have potential for you. I'd say the second thing is, and it goes back to what I was saying earlier, know your audience. Know who's purchased from you in the past. Understand why, what they saw from your, what you're selling, and continue looking for people like them, and do that until you're good at it. And let's see, the third thing I would suggest, around making sales easier is be yourself. You're actually the product that you're selling. Whether you're the salesperson or the business owner, you are the human being they are connecting with, and you're the one they'll choose to trust and to purchase from you. So that's why, you look at my branding, I have purple everywhere. I love purple. It makes me stand out. People recognize me with purple, and it helps me express myself. And you will have something about you that lets you express yourself. Is there a hobby that you love to do? Incorporate that in when you're talking to people about business. If you are, love to dress up in costumes or love to play video games, bring stories in from those things to talk about what you do, and you'll find a way to relate to people in that way. So those 3 things: follow up. What did I say? Follow up, know your audience.
Be yourself. Because somebody was saying one time that actually be yourself is the only chance that you have now, because every other person is taking. So the only chance that you have is to be yourself. That is the only available spot that you have in the world. But people are busy living other people's life. They don't want to be themselves. So they end up living other people's life, and they end up becoming the best fake of other people, because every other person is already taken, actually. The only one that is left is you. It's up to you. Take it or become a fake.
Right.
Now, how do we reinforce that authenticity, which is what we sort of want to call it in storytelling, in business, so that people can really relate to us, know who we are, can sense our perfume, can also know that we make mistakes because we are not perfect. We are not supposed to be perfect. A guy was saying yesterday, a guy was listening to on YouTube video talking about how to get more out of your email marketing, that sometimes don't be over perfect, because when you are over perfect, people know that this is not real. Because the people you are trying to reach are human beings, and they know what human beings are. If it is over perfect, they are not like that. So they don't want to be like you because you are not like them.
Right.
But when you make little mistakes sometimes, you forgot to cross the T. Where the I was supposed to be there, so that you refuse to, or maybe you forgot to put it. This is something that human beings do sometimes, because we are human beings.
Yes.
So the question is, how do we bring this into our sales? Because at the end of the day, what we are doing is that we are trying to connect to people, try to help them understand that, hey, I'm like you. Because if we don't do that, we're not going to get sales. Please help us understand that.
Yes. Oh, I totally think that when we're in like a sales cycle with somebody, we think we have to be perfect. We have to prove ourselves the expert. And we get really scared that we're going to say something wrong, do something wrong, forget something. And certainly we don't want to make any large mistakes. There are things that you can do to protect yourself from calling someone the wrong name, or forgetting a meeting, or just making a mistake. And we are human, and there's a beauty when we stumble and we go, that was I just stumbled back there, especially if it was our fault, and there's no way around it. Like, there's one thing between an accident and be like, I'm okay, you okay, everyone okay, all right. We actually do something wrong and we say, that was my bad, I totally messed up there, I apologize, and do what you need to do to make it right, and then you move on. And when you do that, people go, you're willing to admit when you're wrong and you're willing to make it right. Now I trust you twice as much. If you mess up and you don't admit it and you don't make it right, you just showed them that's what it's going to be like to work with you as a business. No, thank you. Because we've all dealt with businesses who've done that to us, who have done us wrong, because they won't admit that they did something wrong, because they're always right. And so that's when I talk to people and they're like, Bethany, what do I do if I forgot to follow up? It's a big question I get a lot. I was supposed to follow up in 3 weeks and I forgot. And now it's 3 months. And I'd say, cool. It's a great opportunity. You email them and say, hey, how are things going? I realized that I dropped the ball. We were going to talk, a couple weeks ago, but here I am now. What can we do? And people really love that. They love that you're able to be honest and sincere.
Thank you for that. All right. You see, we all learn from each other sometimes, actually, in most of the times. And we should learn from each other, no? Because when we come to this world, we don't have everything already figured out, particularly because you remember, of course you do, because you are a human being, that there was a time, I don't know if you have ever traveled to another country where you didn't know the language. So you need to speak the language. Or if you have traveled to another country, you are always living in Ohio, there was a time you didn't know something that you know today. You didn't know anything about it, but you had to start to learn about it, no? Okay.
Yeah.
So in sales too, I believe that you have been learning from somebody. I want to believe that. Of course, you haven't told me that. So the question really is, who are your heroes? Who have you been learning from? Share with us.
I am always learning from other people. And that's kind of the stack of books behind me of authors that I have loved learning from and other things. So I don't know if you want specific names, specific titles. I know there's one. I'll say this. I'll throw one name out here, and he's a LinkedIn connection that I have. This is a gentleman that I've been following now for about a year and a half. We met at a conference. His name is Dale Dupree, and he is a sales coach as well. And I love his methodology. When I saw him at this conference a year and a half ago, I was like, you do the thing that I love so much. And he has this really fun, creative way of starting a sales conversation with people. And he calls it the crumpled letter campaign. And I just think it's just glorious. And that's what I love. I love people who are creative and unique, and they're like, let's have fun with this. You know, people get really uptight when they're trying to sell something. And it's like, no, you're a human. I'm a human. We both put pants on one leg at a time. You know? Let's just see if there's something that we can do together in this world. That's really all it is.
That's so true. That's so true. That's so true. I believe that we will. I'm not really a sales expert, but I believe that we will make more sales if we can manage to communicate to the other people that we are like them. Mm-hmm. Because human beings like to relate or like to connect with other human beings that look like them. Of course, look like them, not always in the outward form, no, that, okay, I am a man, I must relate to another man. No, I mean, the message that you are communicating.
Yes.
What are you saying that can relate to me? How can I learn from you? So I believe that can be the most important thing that we should really do if we are in business, or if we are in the business of relating to other people, that we must make them understand that we are the same. You see, there is one thing I often share in storytelling, that when you take a piece of story and you want to tell it, you first of all need to pause, ask yourself, who is listening to me? Who am I telling this story to? Because depending on who you are telling the story to, a piece of information you want to share, you could share it differently. It might be the same information, but you will tell it in very many different ways, depending on who you are telling the story to.
Yes.
Say, for example, a riot broke out in the city. Maybe people died. And you are going to make a report of this, or you are going to talk about this. If you meet some street gangster, and those are your audience, you're going to present it in one way. But what if in the same city, you haven't gone anywhere? You want to present it to academians. You're going to present it in another way. It's the same story. It's the same place.
Yep.
So I think it is important that we pay attention to who is listening to us. Because communication now, or information that we share, we don't make any sense until the person we are communicating or talking to understand what we are saying.
Yeah. Yes.
How do we maybe bring this into story? Ido says in that we don't remain on our head, no, but we bring it to the level of the people that we are speaking to, because it is all about them, not about me. It's about the person that I'm talking to. If he doesn't understand me, I haven't communicated.
Yes.
Are there ways that maybe you could tell us that we could do that more so that we can increase our sales? Otherwise, people are going to say, like you said before, thank you, I'm not interested.
No, on the point of communication, one of my favorite things to talk about when it comes to communicating with people is understanding the personality of the person you're talking to and their values. I've seen a lot of different kind of methodologies around this, and I've seen some different tools that help us as the person trying to sell something understand how to communicate better with the person we're trying to sell to. And a good example of this is there's a personality kind of assessment out there called Bank that I like, because it's kind of geared toward the selling perspective. And it talks about how there are 4 general personalities that you're looking for: action, blueprint, knowledge, and nurture. And I don't have to go in the depths of what those are, but the point is that when you're connecting with somebody, if you understand, and you can usually figure out pretty quickly from their language and the things that they talk about, if you let them talk for a minute, you can figure out kind of which one of those they are. I fall into the nurture kind of box in that I love talking about people. I love talking about relationships. Those are things I value highly. So if I connect with somebody and they start talking about those things, then we immediately jive. It's the conversation comes easily and we're good. Now, if I talk to someone who's say more of an action type, they are tell me what I need to know. I need to make a decision quickly. I don't need all the fluff. And so if I'm talking to someone like that, if I go down a rabbit hole about my kids, they might get bored and like glaze over. So I know I need to tell them why we're having this conversation. What's the value to them? And so that's really it makes it really easier for me as a salesperson to recognize what our conversation should look like and how to engage them in a way that they find valuable. So that's just one of the ways to help us get better at communication. And that's in all areas of life, but specifically in the sales space.
All right, in the sales space. And this sales space, you talked about something that I think it is very relevant here, which you call, I think, the follow up. Now, I'm asking something. What is the best way to follow up? You have a client and who have maybe who wanted to buy something from you, but at the end of the day he didn't buy it or didn't complete the order.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to make sure that you get this sales. What is the best way to approach it so that this individual eventually become or this prospect eventually become your client? Or how do you usually follow up to get result in terms of sales?
So real quickly, there are 3 areas that we follow up. There is the early sales part of where they're just a lead, they don't really know who you are, and you're just establishing the relationship. And those follow-ups, and that is follow-up too, looks a little different because you're just establishing your expertise, you're just establishing trust. Then there's the stage where like they've said, okay, I'm interested now, tell me more. And so you might have had a sales conversation with them. Maybe you've sent over a proposal or you've sent over your website for them to go purchase, and then nothing happens or there's delays. And that is a really important area to follow up. And a lot of people do this wrong. And it's not on purpose, it's just because no one's talking about it. And what I mean by wrong, I simply mean you think that because someone hasn't taken action, you need to push them into action. But usually someone doesn't take action for one of 2 reasons. They're unclear why they're buying, or something got in the way. There's a limitation. And your job is to figure out which one it is. And if you have an idea, if you had enough conversations with them and you understand, like if it's a limitation, like the finances aren't there, that they don't have the cash flow. Cool. What is it they need to have in place before they have the cash flow in order to hit the buy now button? And just stick around with them until that's ready, or provide options until then, or whatever it may be. If they're unclear about something, well, they're not going to buy something if they don't know why they're buying it. They may have said that they were going to buy it, but that's because usually people don't, either they're afraid to ask more questions or they don't realize what questions to ask. That's your job. You're the business owner, you understand it, and you'll know with a little bit of time, having a few, handful of customers, you'll know what kind of questions come up. People may not understand, like, okay, once I send you the money, then what happens? How long will it take for me to get the thing I just purchased? Clarify those questions. And so your follow-up will probably oftentimes be, let me tell you what happens next. When you do this, this will happen. So clarifying is a big part of follow-up. So understanding what they need is is what follow-up needs to look like, providing for them what they need. And sometimes, I just actually did this recently with a prospect. I had someone who was like, yes, I want to work with you. And we were going to have another meeting, and that meeting got delayed, and we haven't had another reschedule. And at this point, I'm not sure if she's stalling because she really doesn't want to, like, maybe she has another coach, maybe she's doing something else, maybe the timing's not right. Or so she wants to do it, but she's the timing's not right, or she's decided that it's a no, but she just hasn't told me that. So that's a great opportunity. If you know that's kind of the case, you can send an email out or communication that offers like a small next step, not a big step, not a big, I'm going to purchase the whole thing. It's a little commitment. And if they're actually interested, if they actually want what you're selling, they'll want that little thing and they'll take it. And you'll be like, cool, you've just confirmed to me that you really do want this, but maybe something else was in the way. You didn't have the time or the money right now for the thing. So that's just one of many options that you can do in that space. And it's good to have somebody to help you kind of break it down, what it looks like for your business.
Thank you so much for that. I don't know if you could expand, because actually I was in my head, I was actually popping up those questions in that, what are businesses actually doing wrong that they're not making sales? Because if they were making a lot of sales, you wouldn't have business anyway. That if nobody needs your service, because your service is that you help people, you help businesses to make more sales, which means there are businesses out there that don't have enough sales. Of course, it turn around, but the question is, because this is your clients, sometimes they talk to you, you talk to them, they tell you what is going on, and you assess them like the doctor, you diagnose their situation. What have you found as to why they are not making enough sales? What are they doing wrong?
A lot of times the biggest thing they're doing is they're chasing after fresh leads instead of spending time on the prospects already in their sales cycle. A good example of this is, someone who is selling a service and they're out there going to conferences and events, and they're telling lots of new people about their service. And then they collect names of people who are interested at those events. And then they go home and they take that piece of paper and they put it on their desk. And then they put another piece of paper on the desk. They put another piece of paper on the desk. And they forget about the names of those people they just talked to. And they go to the next event and they get another piece of paper of names. And I see this all the time. They aren't spending time on the people who have already said, tell me more. Or like, the previous conversation where someone who's, we've had a sales conversation and they're like, cool, okay, well, I can't do it right now. Give me 3 months. And the salesperson says, great, you know where to find me. And they go off and do their business and they just leave that person to make that decision on their own. Sales is about wooing people. It's not unlike dating. It's a relationship in the same way. You have to stay in communication with these people so they remember you, so they continue to build that relationship and trust. It takes a while. And some businesses have a really long sales cycle. And so you really have to stay in touch with people over time. Giving up too soon. I would say that's the thing that people do wrong. Number one thing people do wrong. People give up too soon.
How do you know when is the right time to give up?
Yeah, I knew that was coming.
Okay, help us clarify that. Because I think maybe you're not going to remain in a loop forever, no? But at what time do you know, okay, this is not going to work, then I need to switch gear?
There should be in your sales process. And it's a journey. Like, we talk about the customer's journey. It's a sales journey, as well. And it's a journey for you as well. You are on this journey with the prospect. And there are steps along the way when you will ask for small commitments from them. And if they don't say yes, it may be an indication to part ways. A good example of this could be like the sales, the service-based business. We'll say a roofer, for example. I like to give specific examples because then we can see it, like storytelling. So we have a roofer who's at an event and he's got a table and he's telling people about, his services and why he's such a good roofer and why you want to hire him. And you have homeowners coming up and saying, how do I know that I need a roof? How do I know, whether it's time to replace the whole roof, so on and so forth. They're asking him questions and he goes, when you're ready to have your roof looked at, I would love you to give me a call, put your name down on this paper. I'll keep in touch with you. Um, and so he gets that contact information. That was stage one. First little commitment, let me have your contact information. If they say, no, that's all right, well, in that case, he doesn't have to do anything anyways because he has no way to stay in touch with them. But that's a great way of doing it. So let's say he takes that paper home, and over the next week or so, he reaches out to these people in some way, and he's like, I have a newsletter, so you can kind of know what I'm up to. Would you be interested in an inspection, whatever? And he'll have some people say, yes, I want an inspection because I think I might need a new roof. That is another commitment. Some of them will say, no, I'm not interested right now. Would you like to be on my newsletter? I don't think so. Okay. I can't really follow up with you right now. So there's another one. He goes to do the home inspections. He goes to this one house and it's a newer home and doesn't need anything right now. And he tells them, your house, your roof looks pristine. It's in excellent condition. You're probably going to need, maybe 3-5 years from now, there might be some damage. I would love for you to stay on my newsletter and stay in touch with me. You can connect with me on social media. Like, can I check back with you in 3 years? Yes or no? So like, there's these little steps. And there's other things that we can do as businesses to also stay in touch with people. But it's good to provide opportunities. And I'll give you another quick example. In the business space, especially B2B, if your business is business to business, you're probably operating in areas where you're connecting with other businesses. I do this all the time. I'm out there at networking events, meeting other businesses. And so a lot of those people I'm talking to are not telling me that they're ready to hire me. So I'm not following up from them in a sales perspective. I'm following up from them as a fellow business owner. I want to know you. I want to know your business. I want to know who I should be connecting you with. That's how I know Ella, which you interviewed before. And so in that case, same thing. Can we have coffee once in a while? Can I email you occasionally? Would you like to connect with me on social media? Those are all opportunities for someone to say yes or no. And if they say no, I don't want to have coffee with you. I don't want to have, I don't want to have emails from you. Like, those are great opportunities to say, it was wonderful meeting you. Have a wonderful life.
All right. Of course, I believe that the businesses that are listening to us or the business owner that are listening to us, they understand the nugget that you are giving to them. Because yes, you are not supposed to serve everybody. Everybody cannot be your client. But you're going to discern this. You're going to be able to decode this information. You're going to be able to know if you haven't done enough. That is why the person is not your client. The prospect cannot become your client, or this prospect cannot become your client because of other criteria that you need to understand, like Bethany had just explained. So I think those information are really very important for us. Otherwise, now people will just talk to a prospect. They say, "Did he say yes? So bye bye." But that is not the point. So thank you for that. That is really very important. So before you were talking about talking of sales and follow up. In fact, I was reading about you. I think you were referred to as the follow up boss. Of course, that means that you are spending a lot of time on follow up, and you are also encouraging businesses to leverage the power of follow up to increase their sales. So my question is, why do you think that is a good strategy to increase sales? What is the importance of follow up in increasing sales for businesses?
Well, one of the things, this is, I'll give you some stats just because they're always good to have. There's some really good stats around follow-up and sales. Only 3% of people that you talk to the very first time about what you do are going to be ready to buy right then. Only 3%. So if you're relying your business on talking to someone one time and having them say, yes, take my money, then you're missing out on 97% of potential sales. Only, was it something like 80% of salespeople don't follow up past the third or fourth time, and 90% of those sales happen after the fifth interaction. And it's because it comes down to trust. We live in a time when we have 1,000 options. So some people are going to be buying purely on price. But the reality is that most people buy not based on logical factors. I mean, we rationalize the things, but there's an emotional component. And if we haven't taken the time to commit to them and build that emotional bond, they're not going to commit to us, especially and in particular for businesses that are asking someone to spend a lot of money or time for their product. If I'm buying a widget, if I'm spending $5, $20, $50 on something, and I already know that I want it, and I don't need convinced, and I don't need someone to talk to me that I need it, then I'll just go buy it. But also, the next time I need it, I might go somewhere else because it didn't matter to me where I got it from. If it matters to you that you have customers that stick around, you want to commit to those customers. You have to prove to them there's a reason they stay. And it's going to be that emotional connection. And so follow-up at its core is purposeful and intentional interactions that build on that relationship.
That is valuable. I don't even want to stress that enough because that is really valuable. Because at the level of emotion, anything is possible. I think this is actually both biological and at the very essence of who we are as a species. In that, look at, for example, the credit system. You go to a bank, you say, give me $50,000. I will pay you in 10 years' time. They will give it to you. Why? Because we have built a system that allows that to happen. I think if you go to, I don't know how the chimpanzees organize their society, but I think that is going to be pretty difficult for them to do. So it is important that we have this trust, that we can manage to convince, or manage to help the people to understand that we can make this work together. Yeah, thank you for that sharing. I think it is important. It really is. Now, because we are talking of sales, I'm trying to look at businesses who are trying to look for a way to increase their sales and maybe increase it in an easier way. Can we even say that is a possibility? And what are the ways to make it easier for them? A lot of people, they don't like sales, no? But they're in business. That is sort of contradictory as it were, no? Because without sales, you are not in business. So how do you make it easier?
It really just boils down to those relationships you're building. If I talk to somebody and they say, I hate sales, and I ask why, and they say, it feels awkward trying to ask people to buy something from me. And I was like, what makes it awkward? And usually their answer is, because they didn't ask for it. And I was like, well, what do you need to do to make them ask for it? They need to understand what you do. They understand how you help people, but you can share that information with them without you being like up in their face, like, you will need this, right? That's where it gets creepy. So what I love, and I tell pretty much all of my clients, if you get to be spending time in spaces with other business owners, whether you're a B2B business or a B2C, business to consumer, you sell to people. And if you can get in a space where everyone is equal. So what I mean by that is when you're at a networking event with other businesses, you're all there trying to grow your businesses. And hopefully you're not all there just pitching to each other. You're all like, these are the struggles I'm having in my business. These are the things that, are hard around business. And they go, yeah, I get that. I have that same thing too. And then you start talking and someone will be like, I'm really struggling with my taxes right now. Oh, I know someone who does taxes. Do you want me to connect you? Yes. Would you do that for me? Awesome. And then maybe that tax person's talking to somebody and the person's like, yeah, my sales are really down this year. I'm not quite sure to do it. Well, I know someone who could help you with that. Would you like me to introduce you? Yeah, that'd be great. Now they know they need something, and you've just got a warm introduction from someone who already trusts you. And so when you sit down with that person and they're like, yeah, so and so was telling me about what you do, and that sounds really cool, and they seem to like you too. So like, tell me what you do. I already sort of trust you because I trust them. And suddenly selling is not selling, it's helping a friend of a friend who just needs help, and it feels so natural. And that's what selling gets to be. And the thing that makes that, usually the gap that exists, is we haven't built the trust. So when we sit down with someone we don't know, who we have no connection with, and we're like, you should buy from me, and they go, why? And now you have to convince them. While as if you just be like, well, let me tell me about you. What are you doing in your life? What are the things that are working and not working for you? What matters to you? And they get talking, and the next thing you hear them say is, I started this business. I'm going to give an example from, obviously from my perspective. I started a business and I love serving my customers, but it's so exhausting trying to find new customers all the time. Yeah, I can relate to that. Would you like some suggestions on how to do that differently? Maybe. Awesome. Let's talk about that. Like, it doesn't have to be weird.
Thank you so much for that. I think it's a change of perspective sometimes that people need to understand, from those of you who already understand how it works now, that it says it's not about going to cheat people. It's not about going to take their money. It's about helping them to find a solution to their problem. Because if people understand that is what it is, because we want to help people. That is why you are in business, Business is not just for the sake of money. Okay, that need to be understood. But without money, you are also out of business. So we also need to understand that is the case. Except, of course, maybe you are the son or the daughter of Brigade. Then the money is going to be flowing to you from left and right. Then you are just going to be giving it out. But even there, the bank of Brigade is going to close very soon. Because there is an amount of money that can flow out from you, then you don't have money anymore. So people need to understand that it says it's essentially about helping people. Only that there are rules in this world, When you help people, there is an opportunity cost for it. If you are taking your time to spend an hour to talk to somebody, there is an opportunity cost for that, which means you cannot be doing another thing contemporary at the same time. It is not possible. The universe didn't design it like this. Therefore, there is a cost to whatever you are doing or not doing. Right. The question is, do we want to help other people? If we want to, then let's go into sales. Saying that I am happy then to find a solution. Right. So I find your analogy very perfect, and I love it. Thank you so much for that. All right. Now, people that have listened to you to this point, they want to connect with you. They want to sort of do business with you. They want to learn more, because I believe you have programs that can help them. How can they reach out to you? Share with them how to find you.
Yes. I should say that the easiest way to find me is through my website, thefollowupboss.com. And if this resonated with you and you wanted to check out, I have a weekly newsletter where you'll get more tips like this too. But also find me on social media. If you're present on LinkedIn or Instagram or YouTube, and my links are there on my website as well. And it's under The Follow Up Boss. And I'll look for the purple. You'll know it's me.
All right, that's good. That should be simple, though. Before they can see you wearing it, we are wearing your color. That should be obvious now. All right, Bethany. What will be your final thought today? Because we talked about sales, how to make it easier for people, and how to also demystify. You help them to demystify it, that it's not about just going to take money from people, but it's about providing solution, which is why you're in business anyway. Because if you're in business, it's because you want to provide solution to the people. Making sales now is bringing that solution to the people, because You just let them know that, okay, this is what you need, but there is an opportunity cost for that. You are not stealing from people. You are doing a legitimate thing. So it is a right thing to do. So what would be your final thought here to conclude it?
I think my final thought would simply be, if this is something that you struggle with, find somebody you trust. Ask your network who can help you continue to demystify it and figure out what it looks like for your business. Because as business owners, we wear so many hats, and there are certain areas of expertise, and there are certain areas where we're just not competent in. And when we try to continue to figure it out on our own, we will be wasting time and not getting where we want to go. And if this is something that you find hard, find somebody who can help you make sense of it. It will help you grow so much faster.
Thank you for that. That is a good advice, because we don't know it all. Hey, it is true. We don't know it all.
Right.
So it is good to ask for help sometime. It is a good advice. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.